Welcome again to Cottage Talk today. I'm Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Tony Gold. This is another episode of Cottage Talk today, which is a daily show about Fulham for the entire month of January. And we are broadcasting live on my X account, on YouTube, and on Facebook. But if for some reason you do want to listen back to the episode, it is exclusive on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. So we'd love to have you become a member on the Patreon page. I will continue to do Cottage Talk today throughout the month of January. I'm on day 20, Tony. It's a lot, but I enjoy doing it, and I will continue to do it for the rest of the month. All right, my friend, before we get into the speculation, and there's some very interesting speculation, I just want to welcome you back to the show. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you. Yeah, very good, Russ. Been keeping up to date with your great shows every day. It's been fantastic. Keeping the Fulham faithful up to date and some interesting things to talk about. So it's been really good.
Actually, I appreciate that, Tony, and I've gotten some really good feedback on it. And I appreciate everyone that is spending time with me on a daily basis. I wanted to prove a point. People say you can't talk Fulham every day. I say crap to that. I think I'm proving that you can talk about Fulham each and every day. If you're going to talk about Arsenal every day, Liverpool every day, you certainly can talk Fulham every day. And that's where I wanted to, one of the reasons why I decided to do this, I did it 2 years ago, and I'm doing it again for the month of January. All right, Tony, before we get into the speculation, I really haven't talked to you on the show. You and I have talked off air. Let's go back a couple of days. Let's go back, unfortunately, to Saturday. Just give me your thoughts on the match against Leeds United, and then we'll talk about some transfer speculation.
Yeah, obviously disappointing to give the game up the way that we did in the end. Same, very similar to Palace, really. But I did call it, Russ, unfortunately. I did say that we would, our run would come to an end there. Just had a feeling that we'd sort of run out of energy a little bit. And unfortunately now, it's caught up with a couple of our players. Some have picked up knocks and injuries now for, some maybe long-term, some hopefully short-term. So the AFCON boys are coming back at a very good time. But, it just shows that you've got to have strength in depth at this stage of the season. And it was just a game too far for us on Saturday. The most disappointing thing about that result really was twofold. The first is that I think Marco Silva made some really bad decisions in terms of the changes that he made towards the end of the game. And then the goal that we actually gave up for Leeds United to win the game was really poor, defensively, really poor. And once again, I'm sorry to say it, but Anthony Robinson has got, found out defensively once again. And it's proving to be a bit of an issue. And he's got to improve defensively, Russ. It's great. Yep. Everything he gives us going forward is tremendous, but he's not a left winger. He's not, a left midfielder. He's a left back. And he needs to do that job far more consistently than he does, because at times his defending is absolutely woeful. And it cost us on Saturday, unfortunately.
Yeah, listen, it's funny because I would agree with that. And he's had some good games. He's had some games that, again, going forward, we have no problems with Jedi. We know what I could say his crossing can be better. I think you'll agree with me on that. But defensively, that's your main job. And as Gary said, it was terrible defending. I mean, the passing was horrific, and
terrible.
The one thing that I will say, you and I talked about this. The one thing I will say about this match is that I've seen a lot of talk about how Leeds United deserved to win. And I don't feel that way. I just think it was there wasn't much in it, except until you got to the end where they ratcheted it up. Marco made some substitutions that kind of, I wouldn't say helped them, but just changed things up a little bit, because you even said to me that Fulham were pretty good defensively. So then you change it in the end. And I just think that, as you said, maybe it was a bridge too far. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why Fulham are looking for players and the January transfer window, which we're going to be talking about potential players. So there's, like I said, it's just disappointing, Tony. But I've not changed my feeling. I want to share this because you and I talked about this. Tony Gold, and I hope you're okay that I admit it, you were actually, I wouldn't say positive after the loss because I don't think you're ever positive, but you weren't devastated. Would you agree with me on that?
100%. Because ultimately, Russ, look, Marco Silva lives and dies by the decisions that he makes. And, on this particular occasion, and look, when he makes his changes and when he makes the decisions that he makes, more often than not, he gets them right. In this particular game, at that particular moment, bringing on Diop wasn't the best decision. I can understand why he did it, but actually, in a game that tight and where it's absolutely heading for a 0-0, you take the point and you run. And that was, for me, the disappointing thing. But look, you can't, I'm not devastated because we've lost a game that really we should have come away with a point.
Right.
It's not the end of the world because we've got plenty of points in the bag from the previous 6 games. What's important now is what happens moving forward into Brighton on Saturday.
Totally
That's
agree.
what's important, Russ. And, we have to make sure that we bounce back and we don't allow that defeat to, cause any, ruts in confidence or anything like that. We've got to turn up against Brighton, who I watched last night against Bournemouth. I thought were bang average, by the way.
Right.
So, Fulham have got an absolute great opportunity to put that Leeds United result to bed and get back to winning ways.
We're on to Brighton. That's what I'm just going to say, and again, the way I look at it, I agree with you, Tony. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. The AFCON boys returning, that helps. You've already mentioned Fulham are dealing with some injuries, so that hurts. But I think that let's just put it past. I think Fulham should just look at what happened and move on and do not get too down after the loss and then bounce back. Because if they do, bring in some players, hopefully. Like I said, we have players returning. The future looks bright for the rest of the season. Let's buck the trend of Marco's time at Fulham with a downslide in the second half of the season. There's an opportunity to basically blow that away. And it's up to Marco, his staff, and the players to make it happen. And, of course, ownership and the recruitment people to get the players in because there is a wonderful opportunity to get into Europe. I'm convinced of it. I didn't think that there was any chance. Well, things have changed a great deal. So for me, I think there's an opportunity. So let's get into the transfer speculation, Tony. And I remember when I first saw the name pop up back in December, Oscar Bobb. And I've watched Oscar Bobb play several times. And I thought, I would love to have this player. The only reason why he's not playing at Manchester City is simply because of the players that they keep buying. There's just no room for him. This is what happens when you play at a club like this. When you're a young player, you get squeezed out. Oscar Bobb got squeezed out. They decided to bring in Semenyo, okay? Someone has to go. This does not mean that Oscar Bobb is not a high-quality player. And again, he's not the finished article. That's what's fascinating about him. So this morning, which would have been a little bit later for you guys, but this morning I saw the speculation from Fabrizio Romano. I'm going to share the tweet from him. Now, again, there have been many tweets and a lot of talk after this, but I still go to what Fabrizio Romano shared because when it comes to transfer speculation, you go to him. He's number one. You go to him. So when you see this, obviously you are thinking there's got to be something to this. So I'll read it and get your thoughts, Tony. Exclusive. Fulham in talks to sign Oscar Bobb on permanent deal from Man City. Proposal around £35 million on the table and being negotiated with Manchester City. Borussia Dortmund remain keen since December, set to decide about bidding or not soon. Okay, so Tony, this is a player. This to me, this goes back to some of the presses I've seen with Marco that he's been talking about in January, impact players. Oscar Bobb is an impact player, Tony. Now, I know that other clubs are still going to be interested. There's nothing etched in stone here. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, first of all, good evening to everyone watching. Hello, thanks for all the messages. Look, this is the kind of signing, Russ, that Fulham should be making.
This moves the needle.
This is the kind of player that the caliber of player that the football club should be going after. Wayne's absolutely spot on. Not only would he be a great asset, but he's also a player for the future as well. You know, look, he's 22 years old, Russ. Yep. He's very, very talented. He's an attacking midfield player, can play on the left, can play the right, could play centrally. He would work fantastically well in Marco Silva's system. If we look at, you know, his strengths and weaknesses as a footballer, obviously got a very good grounding at Manchester City, had some great coaching, so, you know, very well drilled. He's a fantastic dribbler of the ball. Okay. You know, he very rarely loses possession, holds onto the ball very well. He's a very good passer of the ball, and he's got a very good football brain. So, you know, he's one of those players that can see a gap and play very good through balls, which, you know, would be really important. The couple of weaknesses that he has, obviously not the best finisher in the world. So, you know, that's something that he would need to work on, and not great aerially, obviously, because that's not one of his strengths. But look, he likes to, you know, play in terms of his style of play. I think he would really sort of fit in to what Marco Silva does. He likes to, you know, play those 1-2 touch layoffs that Emil Smith-Rowe is very good at. So he's got, you know, he's very quick thinking. As I said, he likes to get on the ball. He's very direct. He'll get at players. He'll take players on. He's brave. And when he does that, he'll draw fouls. We'll get a lot of free kicks. You know, he's one of those players that fullbacks will dive in and make things happen. So, look, for me, I think the £30 million mark is about right. I think he's a great player to bring in now, and one for the future to build and to progress Fulham forward. The only problem we've got is Borussia Dortmund have now shown an interest.
Yep.
And if you're that footballer, Russell, you're going to be sitting down weighing up, you know, do I want Champions League football, European football, Borussia Dortmund, or do I, you know, maybe play not as regularly but be around it? Or do I want to go to Fulham and potentially be a regular? But there'll be a lot of competition still. So it's great to see Fulham going after that sort of type of player and that caliber. And I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay, I'm going to share this from Ben. He's, you know, and again, looking at it from the other way, and I've thought about this too, because a lot of what you see is definitely coming from the agent, right? We know this, okay? The agent is putting this out there, or it could be the clubs. You don't know, but I don't know exactly who gave this to Fabrizio, okay? But it's interesting. So Ben says, can't see Bobb signing for us. Reckon it is his agent pushing Man City for a new deal, or Dortmund to pursue it with a better one, and we have been thrown in as an inquiry. Now, I understand where that's going. I don't think he's going back to Man City. I don't think that's really going to happen, because there's just a logjam there. Dortmund, yes, I can see that. I've also seen, since this tweet came out from Fabrizio, other teams mentioned. Tottenham Hotspur was mentioned. So that's what happens when he puts it out there. Then other clubs get alerted. So could this absolutely blow up and nothing comes from it? Yes, but this is the first time that I've seen Fulham linked to this player. I think there's something there. I think it'll come down to Bobb. Does Bobb want to sign with Fulham? Does Bobb want the ability, similar to what Smith-Rowe, we'll even say Kevin, where you're not going to the big six, but you're going to have a platform to show off who you are and build as a player. He would have that at Fulham. I'm not sure he would have that at Dortmund, because at Dortmund, I think, again, I know they build the young players, but this is not a quote-unquote young player. This is a player a couple of years away from getting into his prime. So this is a little older than what they normally deal with. So I just think that he would be a piece of their puzzle. Bobb, like Smith-Rowe, like Kevin, if he came here, I think he would be part of the furniture, as I would say. He would be a big piece, not a small piece, a big piece, Tony. Also, keep this in mind. He's a Norway international. Who else is a Norway international? I don't know, maybe Sanderberga. So if I'm Sanderberga, I get in this kid's ear, come play with me at Fulham. So I wouldn't say that there's 100%, 50%. I don't know what percent I would put it on, but I will say there's more to this than just Fulham getting in there and the agent, and again, just being about the agent. I understand where Ben's going on it. It could be a factor, but I think Fulham are serious about this, Tony.
They definitely are. And I think, obviously, look, there are a lot of facets to a transfer. What people, forget to remember or don't know is that behind the scenes, as you say, the agents are involved, the clubs are involved, the families involved. Look, Oscar Bobb is going to want assurances, Russ. Believe me, before anything happens, he's going to want to sit down with Marco Silva first and foremost, putting aside wages and all of that. He lives in Manchester, or I'd imagine close to Manchester. So that would mean, moving to London or being around, closer to London. If he decides on Dortmund, that's moving to a whole new country and getting settled and all of that kind of thing, right? The second assurance is, he plays in pretty much the same position as Harry Wilson. And
we're going to talk about him next.
And we've got Chikwueze and you've got, Kevin and so on and so forth. So if Oscar Bobb is looking at it and he's looking at those players, if I'm at Fulham, I'm turning around to Fulham and saying, right, what's happening with Harry Wilson? Is he signing a contract or not? And I think if I'm Oscar Bobb, that is what's going to sway my decision about whether or not I'm serious about joining Fulham, because I don't want to I don't want to go from Man City sitting on the bench to going to Fulham and sitting on the bench when, I've proved myself to a degree at Manchester City. I've proved I've got the qualities. I've proved I can play at that level. I've proved that I can play in that team. I want to go to Fulham to play regularly. So I think for me, the most important thing for Fulham right now is to get the Harry Wilson contract done and dusted. And if Harry Wilson is not going to sign for whatever reason, then we all need to move on, because, he's no spring chicken anymore. He's moving on. I think we've seen the best of Harry Wilson this season. I don't think you're going to see next season what we've seen from Harry Wilson this season. That's just my opinion. But I think that, if we're serious about Bobb, the decision's going to be coming round to him, asking him, right, is Harry Wilson signing a contract? Is he staying? What are my percentage of terms of game time? Am I going to play regularly? And I think that will make the decision, because they're going to spend another 35 million quid on him. He needs to be playing, Russ. We can't have him sitting on the bench.
No, and then we have the whole situation with Kevin and, that whole thing too, Tony. But again, here's an interesting little discussion piece going off of before we talk about Harry Wilson, because I want to talk about Harry Wilson next, okay? This is interesting, and I thought about this, and Steve actually read my mind. Assuming we get Bobb and Pepe is still, there's a strong speculation with him, even though he's injured, and a possible loan. Does that mean that Marco will sign? So that's an interesting little part of this whole thing, Steve. There's a Goldman for you, Tony, is that I feel that what we're seeing in this transfer window, even though nothing's done yet, Tony, nothing's been settled. There have been days where we've heard nothing, but it feels very different than January windows in the past. In fact, I'll go all the way back to when the Cons first bought Fulham. That first January transfer window, they were very aggressive. It unfortunately blew up in their face with Kostas Mitroglou, which everyone will probably remember, but they were aggressive. I think they are aggressive now, partially because they smell Europe could be in the cards, and two, this situation. If they sign, whether it's Bobb and Pepe, 3 impact players that Marco has basically said, I'm paraphrasing, he wants impact players, then you would think that he would sign.
We are facing a lot of variables at the moment, and this is the problem with it. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I see Oscar Bobb genuinely as an upgrade replacement for Harry Wilson. That's what I see it. Harry Wilson has had an unbelievable purple patch this season, and full credit to him for stepping up and being there when the AFCON boys have gone away and producing the quality that he's produced. But there is no way that Harry Wilson can continue that vein of form. And we all know when Harry Wilson's confidence dips or when he goes off the boil a little bit, he's no good to anybody. And I think Fulham have got to weigh this up very carefully. And actually, I do see Bobb being a replacement for Wilson. So I think a lot of it is obviously speculation, but I'm sure the talks are on behind the scenes. I believe the club are speaking to Harry Wilson on a regular basis.
I'm sure they are.
And, they want to get that situation sorted out sooner rather than later. But I've got more concern about Marco Silva. And someone mentioned it, I think Steve Reynolds mentioned it. The fact that he still hasn't signed a contract.
No.
It's beyond crazy that we are in this situation still. Because what happens if Fulham have a blip towards the end of the season, drop out of the top 10, finish 12th? Does that mean Marco Silva walks and gone and that's it? So, it's that situation needs to be resolved. Before we make any signings, in my opinion.
Tony, listen, I agree with you on the Marco situation, because it's funny when you look at the thing with Glasner. I saw this tweeted out, and someone tweeted this out, and it was a good point. Would you rather have the situation with Oliver Glasner, knowing where you stand, right? We know where he stands, that he's leaving. Okay, he's made it known. Or would you rather have this situation where you kind of don't know what's going on with Marco, the uncertainty? Which is better, knowing that he's leaving or this uncertainty? It's just an interesting conundrum.
I don't think either situation is healthy, is the honest truth for us. I really don't. Because, it's like, as you said, it's like you're playing a game of snake and ladders. And, Fulham have, Marco Silva has put Fulham in a position where, if they get their act together and if they get their recruitment right in January and everything settles down, we've got a really, really realistic chance of pushing on and, having a good FA Cup run. We've got a good draw. A lot of good teams have gone out. And with a bit of luck, there's no reason why Fulham can't do very well there. And we have got a real opportunity to push on. In this league, every team seems to be faltering, stuttering and starting and not sort of handing Arsenal the league title. And Fulham have got to be in and around it. But in order to do that, we've got to start getting some hits and getting some things signed, sealed and delivered. And at the moment, there's just too much uncertainty around it all. And it's just not healthy.
Listen, I agree. That's why I kept talking about Marco's contract. I can imagine that Marco doesn't like the fact that his contract continues to be talked about, but it needs to be, okay? If we pretend it's not an issue, like I said, it's been brought up. It has to be an issue for players that want to come to Fulham now. They want to know if the manager's going to be there. I'm talking about the players, potential players. So it's this catch-22 that everyone's involved in. It's not healthy. I'm glad that you put it that way. It's not. The Glasner thing I think bad, because unfortunately how that's going to end. This is just some crazy uncertainty. Maybe it gets resolved, but I agree with you. I wish it gets resolved in January. I hope it's resolved one way or another. We know what's going on with Marco Silva by the end of the window. And if they sign the players he wants, maybe he stays. We shall see. All right, Tony, now it's time to talk about Harry Wilson. So, of course, we have the speculation now, shocker, about Harry Wilson. I've seen some of this. So I saw this from Talk Sport today, and I'm going to share it here, and we'll discuss the latest with Harry Wilson. So, again, it's not ideal, but it's the season, right? Agents are trying to get business, create a bunch of business, competition for their clients. I get all this. So again, from TalkSport, I'll read it out. Fulham are facing an uphill battle to tie man of the moment Harry Wilson down to a new contract. Wilson will be a free agent at the end of the season and has interest from a host of Premier League clubs, including Everton, Leeds, Sunderland, and Crystal Palace. The Cottagers have made it clear to the free-scoring Welsh international they want him to stay. But sources have told TalkSport he is more inclined to leave at this stage. At 28, he can command a hefty signing on fee and a lucrative pay packet if he joins a new club in a free transfer. Okay, Tony, this sounds to me agent speak. This screams to me, I want more money. Now, on one side, it sounds like making the argument he's more inclined to leave because he can make more money. Could it also be a little nudge to Fulham to up how much they are going to offer him? Could there be a little bit of gamesmanship going on here? I think that there's a threat he could leave. But you just brought up the point. Could Oscar Bobb be involved in all this too? Because if they bring in Oscar Bobb, what do you do with Harry Wilson? I think Harry Wilson's at Fulham. I've already seen Marco mention he's going nowhere in January. So that I truly believe is a non-starter. This has to do with the summer. So what do you make of all of this?
Actions speak louder than words, Russ. And at the moment, Marco Silva's actions and Harry Wilson's actions speak very loudly for me. If Harry Wilson's so happy and delighted at Fulham, then there's absolutely no reason why he hasn't put pen to paper, got that sorted out, signed a new deal, and we all move on. But the fact that he hasn't tells me everything that I need to know about Harry Wilson. The clubs that have shown an interest in him, genuinely, Leeds United, Crystal Palace, Sunderland, Everton. It's a sideways step for me.
Exactly.
For so yes, it's all about money. And you know what? We'll see what sort of character Harry Wilson is. We will generally get to see it. Would I blame him? Absolutely not. But like I said, would I be devastated if Harry Wilson left? No. Because if we sign Chukwueze, if he gets signed, and if we do end up signing Oscar Bobb, Fulham are in a better position. That's just my opinion. Certain Fulham fans might disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But in my opinion, like I said, Russ, we've seen the best of Harry Wilson. We ain't going to see a better version of Harry Wilson anytime after this. So for me, at 28 years old, let him go on a free transfer, let him earn his money, let him go, and we all move on. That's my opinion on it.
Okay, so for me, bottom line, he's going nowhere in January. That's off the table.
Yeah,
I don't see that changing. Okay,
no.
So if you put that aside, let's put that aside because I think that would be something that supporters would be concerned about. It's not going anywhere in January. This is the summer. So you just brought up some very good points. I think if Oscar Bobb comes in, let's just say Oscar Bobb comes in, Adama leaves, right? That would happen, but Oscar Bobb would be not just for the now, but also for the future. Harry Wilson, I would like Harry Wilson to stay, Tony. But if Harry Wilson wants to leave, that's his choice. There's nothing Fulham can do except offer him more money. If the player wants to leave, no matter what I want, what anyone else wants, he's going to leave. That's his decision. So ultimately, he's earned the right to make this decision. And if he wants to go, and if, say, it's a sideways move for more money, that's his decision. We move on. That's the way I look at it. Would I like him to stay? Yes. But I would also like to see Fulham get younger. And if you're giving me young wingers, I'll take the young wingers. That's the way that I'm looking at it. I would like him back. But if we're going to be we need to get younger. I would wish him the best and bring in a younger winger.
Look, it's part of history. Through our football club, you fall in love with players, and I've fallen in love with many players over the years. And of course, I'm gutted and devastated to see them leave. Edwin van der Sar, Moussa Dembele, Louis
that one
Sahar.
killed me. Moussa Dembele killed me.
Louis Sahar, Mitrovic. Unfortunately, players come, players go. And the way that football is today and the way that, football players' careers are, they need to make as much money as they possibly can at the best stage of their careers. And Harry Wilson, Fulham revived his career. They gave him the platform to do that. He's had an unbelievable season up to date, arguably Fulham's player of the season. But look, he's going to want aspirations of moving on. And if Fulham don't make it into Europe, but he gets a team that comes after him that does make it into Europe, and they offer him more money, and he's a free agent, it's not rocket science, Russell. He's going to go, because loyalty in football these days is a rare commodity. And ultimately, yeah, it will be a shame to see him go. But like I said, if we end up signing Chukwueze and if we sign Oscar Bobb, Fulham are going to be in a better place. They're not going to be in a worse place. So, you know what? Let him go. Let him go. Let him have it, whatever time he thinks he's going to have somewhere else. But I can assure you, they won't get the best version of Harry Wilson that we've seen at Fulham. And that's the reality.
The reality is, well, that's a good point, Tony, because this is the best, right? And it's all led up to this. I don't think he's going to get any better. Can he play at this level another couple of seasons? Potentially, right? He could. But I think this is his ceiling, as we would say here. He's hit the ceiling. Hit the ceiling. This is the best you're going to see. I hope it continues for him. I mean, for another couple of seasons, but he's not going to get any better. He's hit the ceiling, which is great. I think his ceiling is very good. He's not going to get better. This is who he is, and that's fine because who he is good. It's very good. But if he wants to move on, he moves on, and Fulham move on. And you just have to, like you said, you're naming the players, and the one that killed me was Moussa Dembele. That killed me because that wrecked Fulham's season. Call it what you want. It wasn't Clint Dempsey leaving. It was Moussa Dembele leaving. That killed them. Harry Wilson leaving at the end of the season, that doesn't kill them. You just wish him good. You wish him well and we move on. That's the way I look at it. But, like I said, would I like him to stay? Yeah, sure. But it's all in his hands. All right, Tony, one more piece of speculation. I'm going to just share this with you. And I've been looking for speculation on a striker. Listen, I already know of one that Fulham are interested in, and that's Ricardo Pepi. But here's another one. But there seems to be a lot of interest. I've also seen that potentially Fulham might be interested in Evan Ferguson again. But let's talk about this one. This comes from the Independent. So Fulham lead Troy Parrott race as 3 clubs target Republic of Ireland hero. The AZ Alkmaar striker has impressed in the Dutch league and hit 5 goals against Portugal and Hungary to guide the Republic of Ireland into a World Cup 2026 playoff. Fulham are battling Wolfsburg and Real Betis in the race to sign Troy Parrott following his huge impact on Republic of Ireland's quest to qualify for the World Cup 2026. I could go on, but I would just leave it that. He was at Tottenham Hotspur. He was an academy boy at Tottenham Hotspur. Tony, what do you make of this? What's interesting here is there are a ton of teams interested in this player. Well, what do you make of this?
Tell me when he needs to be at Real Betis and I'll fly him there myself. Fulham don't need any parrots. Not for me, Russ, I'm afraid. Listen, okay. He's playing at a level that's right for him, playing in a championship stroke League One league. I think we've seen that with Gyökeres, who's at Arsenal now, can't hit a barn door. Look, he was at Tottenham. Yes, he played at Tottenham. I think he played all of about 10 games maybe, came off the bench. Then he was loaned out to Millwall, Ipswich, Preston, wherever.
Yep.
He's nowhere near it. And not for me.
Okay.
And as Steve says, football needs a bit of diplomacy, Steve. If we had a bit more diplomacy, we'd all be in a better place. But listen, genuinely, that would be an absolutely catastrophic signing.
Okay. And we're talking big money for this player. So that's what's fascinating about this. Okay, very good. All right, Tony, let's end this quick episode of Cottage Talk with some good news. And I've already seen the video and pictures. The AFCON boys have returned. This is huge news. Massive.
What a tournament, Russ. That final is up there with one of the greatest things I've ever seen in football.
Okay, I've never seen anything like it. I was actually watching video today of it at work. I've never seen anything quite like that. So I don't know what else to say.
I mean, it was incredible. We finally got someone that took a worse penalty than Lookman. And I still think Lookman's was worse, to be fair. I still think that was worse. But I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy, crazy game of football. Anyway, we got them coming home.
Yep.
Not a moment too soon, in my opinion. And you know what? Chikwueze looks relatively fresh. He's got to start Saturday straight in. Iwobi's got to start Saturday straight in because Lukic is out. And actually, he's going to probably throw Bassi straight in. So, get them all back, get them all three of them back in and let's rock and roll.
Okay. Well, yes and no. I agree with two of them coming back. I like Cuenca. Don't you think this would be cruel to Cuenca?
Massively cruel to him. And in fact, there's an argument to maybe bring Bassi in instead of Robinson and get Robinson out because honestly, his defending recently has been absolutely abysmal. And Bassi can play at left back all day long. And so can Cuenca, to be honest. So, you know what? Yeah, can't wait to have them back. And as I said, great stuff. Not a moment too soon.
Okay, Chris, listen. I know you with Liverpool, it's hit or miss, but yes, you and I have to be happy about the New England Patriots. Thank you for bringing that up. I am very happy. You would not want, I will just say this right now. There are two teams you do not want to watch a match or a game with. It's Fulham and it's the Patriots. In my house, watching a Patriots game, Tony, it's screaming for 3 hours. Well, 3 hours. Like me, my son, and my wife, we're screaming at the television and we're looking at each other. We're not there and we're screaming. We are literally screaming. But that's what it is to be a fan. That's what it is to be a fan.
Well, you should come and watch the New York Jets in my house, Russ.
I don't even want to go. I feel bad for you. I don't even want to go there with you, my friend. That can't be easy. All right, Tony, great show, fantastic show. I really enjoyed it. And listen, we have a lot of people watching live with us, 216. So thank you, everyone, for watching live. Hopefully, maybe soon we'll have a show that it's about a Fulham signing. That would be nice. Final thoughts before we go, Tony.
Final thoughts are, everyone positive for Saturday. Back to winning ways. Great to have some of the lads back. And obviously, let's hope in the next 7 days we do get one of these transfers over the line and have something exciting to talk about. Not Troy Parrott, by the way.
Okay.
But hopefully, that Oscar Bobb is exciting. And I think, that really sets a tone for us. So looking forward to Saturday and onwards and upwards.
Well, listen, Chris, you are right on this. They really should. They should have him like Tony, would you make a good set piece coach? Could you do?
You know what? I wouldn't do any worse than the current fella in position. Let's put it that way.
Sorry, that was funny. Yes, I would agree with you. Sign Tony as a set piece coach.
I'll tell you what, I'll do it for free for the first 10 games.
Oh my Lord, that was too funny. Okay. All right. Had to end on a positive, on a funny note. Tony, thank you so much for doing the show with me. I hope you enjoyed
Pleasure.
it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
All right. This is a lot of fun. All right. Well, it is time to wrap up the show. Like I said, if for some reason you want to listen back to it, you will have to become a Cottage Talk Patreon member. I've left it really it's very reasonably priced. Please do check it out. I'm doing a show each and every day for the month of January, so you get to listen back to all of those. And if you become a paid member and you want to listen to as a podcast, it's so easy to enable on your own podcast app. You don't have to do it through Patreon. You would actually enable it through Patreon through your app. I listen to it on Apple Podcasts, so you can do that if that's what people are concerned about. I just want to mention that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. He's Tony Gold. I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.